Welcome back, YouTube. I wanted to do an update video just to address the people that feel like that maybe they purchased too soon based off of price action. And for a lot of the people that are just coming into crypto, because the crypto market is growing, we're getting a lot of new wallets and a lot of new people who are making their very first purchases in something like a Dogecoin, a Bitcoin, or even crypto in general. And the biggest thing I want to point out, we're going to back this up with charts and evidence, of course, like we always do, but the biggest thing I want to say before we even get into this video is if you are feeling like you purchased too soon in the cycle, I want to point out that there is, especially if we're dealing with the top 10 crypto or the really just the meat of the crypto market where most of the liquidity is. Technically speaking, if we're going cycle to cycle where you purchased an asset prior to the halving, there has not been a record of that asset not performing or increasing in value afterwards during the bull run. Those coins, even when you go back to 2016, before Dogecoin was even in the top 10, before it became what it is today, we've seen evidence of this. Like rising tides raise all boats. So the crypto market ascended together. Now, obviously, I believe that we're going to have the top 10, the more known crypto, the ones with the highest amount of users. I believe, of course, they're going to suck up most of that liquidity. If your coin is like number 50 or 100 on coin market cap, then obviously it's not going to have the same volume as a number 8 coin on coin market cap. But overall, the cycle raises the prices of the coin. Like people come in, whether that be the institutions, retail, they're looking for assets that have increased in value. And this has happened not once, not twice, but 100% of the time from cycle to cycle, this happens. So if you purchase prior to the halving based off of history, you're fine. There is not like when you, unless you're investing in some like scam coin, like you're doing like a cum rocket or something like that, or some type of rug pull, then of course pretty much at that point you are the liquidity. But if you have an asset where there is a community behind it, there's a vision behind it, it has a record of success, it's been through a few cycles, then cycle to cycle it increases in value. That has not happened to the point where the prior to the halving was the max for the coins. Like that's not even how liquidity even works in the crypto market. Like the coins don't max prior to the halving. So I wanted to point that out before we even get into the video, because I see probably some, I'm going to chuck it up to confusion or in the market and how the cycle actually works, because a lot of people are new into the market. So starting here with Bitcoin, you're going to see this across the board. Didn't quite come down to that 58 target, but we saw a big push up. Like this wick is absolutely huge. People, what does this mean? If you see a very long wick with a short candle to the upside, it means people are buying the dip. Pretty much that's what that means. People are running to the coin and saying, hey, that's a great deal, I want some at that price. And the buys are overwhelming the push down here. So we have shorts coming out of Bitcoin almost down to the 200-day average. So not an increase in price for today or even the last 48 hours. Not very confident that it's going to get much lower. So we're not seeing evidence of that in the short market. Let's take a look at Doge. Doge here is doing something similar. This is teetering between green and red, but for the most part, we're holding on to that 15 cent zone here, that level of support, which has been historic for a level of support, not even just in this run, but in 2021 as well. 16 cent played a big role as far as for support and even breakthrough points on both sides of the cycle. So it's not a surprise that Doge is hanging on there. So we have certainly had some big, so see now the candle's green, certainly had some big push-ups here where people were very aggressively buying. If you're able to catch it in this zone here is from around 1175 to, I say, low 15. If you're able to catch it in that zone, that is a great place to purchase. And it looks like most people have caught on to that because that's exactly what's been happening. We've seen it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Engulfing candle here, making up for 2 red days in a single day, 9, 10, 11, 12. So even just with the big push downs here, counting the wicks, we've seen this 12 times in this zone here where they push it down and it just absolutely pushes back aggressively. As a matter of fact, if we are saying on the downtrend here, we've only closed here twice. Typically, we'll see these prices, and before the candle closes, we'll push back up to 15. So if you are considering, like, even if you don't have an exposure to this coin, if you're considering getting in, or if you're considering, hey, what's the best way to kind of average into, like, if I want my average in this zone, if you can catch it down here, typically that bounces back within 24, 48 hours. That is going to be the zone as far as where to catch it. Otherwise, we're looking at some sideways movement here, holding on to the 15 range. Now, as far as for the possibility of going lower, Bitcoin would need to, outside of like some specific catalyst, like some specific negative catalyst for Dogecoin, Bitcoin would need to break below 58,000 in order for that to happen, and then we'll have to reassess. But overall, this is, like I mentioned yesterday in the video, nothing has happened that is abnormal to the trends. We've seen these coins sell off 50%. We've looked at this on CoinMarketCap. We've seen Bitcoin go from 20,000 down to 3,000 to 12,000, then back down to 5, all before going to the moon. Like, so we've seen this happen a number of times here. So it really just comes down to comfort level and really just knowledge of the overall cycles to kind of just be able to kind of like withstand the ups and downs. Because we see the shorts here spiked for Doge greatly, and then now they're coming out. So even now with it holding at around 15, which we've been here for a few days, they've tried to get it below, even for the, we had 2 green days after we hit 15 cent, and it's not working. So now they're coming out of those positions here because we had this big push down here where they trying to change their mind, but they was like, no, we think we can get it down, and it's not working. So now they're coming out of these positions here. We are still above the 200-day. The 14, the 200 have crossed here. It's not the same thing as like a chart pattern, because this is purely emotional as far as for their level of shorts and whether or not they're willing to come into that. Because typically this is more, I'll say, trading the news. So like anytime we get some macro event, or if Elon says something like, let's say Elon comes out and says, hey, we're 2 years out from doing crypto on X. This year is going to spike. If Israel attacks Iran, this here is going to spike. This is more so trading news and shock value, trying to capitalize off of that versus the fundamentals. So that's why you'll see them take shorts out at record speeds based off of a tweet or something like that. If you've been following it for a while, they can react faster than almost anything, because they are simply trading the news and trying to capitalize off of that panic and the emotions that set into the market very early on. So we'll see this. As longer we stay at 15, we'll see this. They'll come out of these positions to more of a equilibrium, probably somewhere down here around the 200. So we can kind of keep an eye on that over the next 2 or 3 days. They'll start to average out of this if Dogecoin doesn't appear to be moving, or if there's not a catalyst to try and get it down. So let's go to CoinMarketCap. Kind of just in case you didn't see the video from yesterday, I wanted to point out that we are historically doing absolutely okay. Hopefully you see this chart loading here. It doesn't take forever. But while that's loading, for whatever reason that's taking forever. Okay. We'll certainly, let's do all. Okay. So we've seen these blips after the halving. Like we'll have like the 2016 halving here. And let's say, what was it around like 2016? So look at the price action here. From 2016 to after the halving here, we peaked at, was it 0.01711, right? So we're talking about a peak market cap around 235.11 million from like 1 point, maybe less than 2 million in 2016. So like, and that's just having number one. Technically, if you're talking about saying, okay, from Dogecoin being created to going through its first halving, this is what I mean by cycle wise. This has happened 100% of the time. There has not been a cycle where the coin maxed out prior to the halving, whatever was going on in price action, and didn't reap any benefits from the liquidity coming into the market. And this is prior to most people not even knowing what Dogecoin was. Like I didn't know Dogecoin existed in 2016. Right. And so most of the people, most of the capital, and even Dogecoin wasn't this phenomenon back then, and it still reacted to the market that way. And of course, in 2021, it did at the next halving. So I don't see why this one would be different. And you can go line for line for most coins that have been around from the earlier days prior to like the retail coming into crypto in great numbers. This is the let's go back to, let's do Bitcoin, because I think that's important as well. And this will kind of tell a story as well, especially if you didn't see the video from yesterday, because if you're looking at the overall price action and you're saying, hey, what about these swings? What about this volatility that I'm seeing? Again, all normal. Nothing has happened that is abnormal, right? So we're talking about like 2016, we're saying $410 prior to the halving. We're maxing out at around 20,000. Right, this is after halving, max out around 20,000, right? Tanked to 3,000 to 12, and then bottomed at around 5, right? And then positioned itself for the next run. So we had two lows there at 3,000 and then 5. Now, at any point in time, like if you purchased, like the people, let's say this is 2021, right? And let's say these are the people that purchase like Doge at some of the higher numbers, or even Bitcoin, right? History has shown it, like, yes, there'll be some lows in there, there'll be some runs, and then you'll retest some of those lows. But history has shown cycle to cycle, these assets appreciate. And that has not changed. That story has not changed. And for me, I'm not going to try and force that change into the story because that hasn't happened yet. So, I understand that it's better to be, proactive versus reactive. But if you're looking at the cycles and saying, hey, I'm investing inside the market, try and get some concrete answers based off of, if you don't, not everybody has to chart, even if it's not charts, if you're doing cycles, if you're doing zones, whatever, just try and get something concrete besides emotions. And I think that'll better serve most people when you're looking at the macro things and from cycle to cycle. Now, we do have some outliers here, more people in crypto than before, institutions coming into crypto. But technically speaking, I see a lot more positives for those things and even more capital coming in because of those things versus negatives. So obviously, we'll see how this plays out. But I wanted to just make this video because I think it's very important for the people that are kind of concerned now. If you zoom out, you'll be able to kind of get the big picture and see that we're right on track for yet again, whether Bitcoin or Dogecoin, whatever, we're right on track yet again to set a new all-time high. So until we get divergence from that, then that's the story. So with that being said, if you have not subscribed yet, please consider helping the channel get to 100,000 subscribers prior to Bitcoin reaching $100,000. If you can help with that, I'll greatly appreciate it. Leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video.